Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our webinar tonight. We are so excited that you're here and so excited that you're spending part of your Tuesday evening with us. We are delighted to have you with us for our next steps now till September. So if you're here for that event, you are in the right place. And it also means that you probably have an offer in hand to McMaster. So I want to start by saying a very big congratulations to all of you. We are so excited to welcome you to campus this fall. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement. McMaster University sits on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee Nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. I wouldn't have been able to have studied at McMaster or work at McMaster now if not for acknowledging the rich history that comes with that. There is so much to cover tonight, and we're going to cover it all within the next 58 minutes. So buckle up, grab a little tea or a water, and get comfy for the next 57 minutes as we cover a whole bunch. So we're going to start off with some points about accepting your offer, residence application, some financial matters, how to enroll in your classes, when is your tuition due, as well as some other kind of key dates. And then I'll be passing it over to Adam from the Student Success Center to tell you a little bit more about actually the transition into McMaster, as well as your Welcome Week experience. So we're really excited to have you here. We are delighted to answer any questions that you have. So please do use the Q&A feature you can see at the bottom of the screen to ask the questions that you have. We will be prioritizing questions about tonight's topics. If you have questions that are specific about your application, we'll ask that you email our team, and we'll have the email at the screen on the very last slide of the evening, but maybe your question will get answered in the meantime. So let's get started and start sending in any questions that you have. And lots of folks from our recruitment team are here ready to answer those questions for you. So this is me. My name is Julia. I'm a recruitment officer at McMaster, and I'm also a proud McMaster graduate. I graduated a few years ago from the Faculty of Humanities, and I loved my time so much that I stuck around even after I graduated. And so I've been working in the recruitment office ever since, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about kind of what to expect from now until September. So just love to start by kicking it off with some kind of fast facts about McMaster and this institution that you're joining. We are one of the top 2 universities in the province, one of the top 5 in the country, and one of the top 1% of universities worldwide. We're one of the most research-intensive universities in the country, and we're also #1 in Canada for student services. So you're definitely joining a fantastic community. Now, if you haven't already, the deadline to accept your offer is coming up pretty soon. So if you're an Ontario high school applicant, the deadline to accept your offer is June 2nd. So that's this coming Monday. And you need to accept your offer on the OUAC. After you accept your offer, it can take a couple business days for us to kind of receive that on our end and then send you an email acknowledging that. So that's the kind of key deadline to keep in mind. If you haven't already, make sure that you are accepting your offer by Monday. And that's the very end of the day on Monday. So 11:59 on Monday p.m., but try to accept it before then, just in case any tech issues arise for you. Now, you will have noticed if you're a current Ontario high school student that your offer is conditional. So it's conditional upon you finishing up high school, finishing up your required courses, as well as maintaining a certain average. Now, the average that you need to maintain is listed in your offer, and it's not specific for each of your courses. So unless specifically indicated in your offer letter, it's the average of those top 6 courses, including the required courses for your program. So all of your courses, everything needs to be wrapped up by the end of June. And then your high school, if you're studying in Ontario, will send us your final grades to us in early July. And then that's what we'll use to clear the offers of your conditions. If you're a non-Ontario high school applicant joining us this evening, then the conditions of your offer might be a little bit different. So just take a look in your specific offer letter and make sure that you're satisfying those conditions by the deadline stated in your offer. And then throughout the summer, the admissions office will clear those conditions and make all those offers that are able to become final offers. Now, another deadline to be keeping in mind is related to housing. So the deadline to apply to residence is also June 2nd. So it's also this coming Monday. If you have a guaranteed spot in residence, then to secure your spot in residence, you still need to fill out the residence application and pay the $600 residence deposit by June 2nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The current residence average that you need to have a guaranteed spot in residence is an 88%, and that's based on your admissions average. And so if you have an 88% or above as an Ontario high school student, then you will be guaranteed a spot in residence, and that would be indicated to you in your offer letter. So you can take a look on that to see if you're unsure. And if you're an out-of-province student or an international student, then you are guaranteed a spot in residence. You're coming from a little bit further. A couple days after June 2nd is our deadline for residence accommodation requests. Those are due June 6th at 4 p.m. And then in about mid-June, all students are entered into a lottery and randomly assigned a specific time slot to actually log into the residence portal and self-select your room. It sort of works like concert tickets in the sense that when you log in, you will see all of the options that are available and actually get to pick the specific room in the specific building that you want to live in. So those time slots are entirely just based on lottery, but you will be informed in about mid-June what your exact time slot is. And then those time slots will begin in late June to mid-July. So once your time slot starts, you have about 5 days to actually pick your room. Otherwise, the residence team will be picking it for you. If you have a friend who's coming to McMaster, as long as you both have a guaranteed spot in residence and you both request each other, you're guaranteed to get each other as roommates in a double room. And whichever one of you has the earlier time slot would pick the room for the other person as well. The deadline to qualify for a partial refund of that residence deposit is towards the end of July. So July 23rd, you would get $300 back. After July 23rd, you would lose that $600 deposit. And then you move into residence at the end of August. We're one of the earliest Ontario universities to have its move-in weekend. So you either move in on a Saturday or the Sunday, depending on which residence building you're living in. And it means you get a full week of being on campus before your classes even begin. And later on in the presentation, Adam is going to tell you a whole bunch more about Welcome Week and what actually happens during that week. Now, if you don't have a guaranteed spot in residence, you can still apply, but you would get put on the wait list. So it's still the same deadline to apply for the wait list. No deposit is required of you if you're on the wait list, and the wait list order is determined by your average. So the closer you are to that 88% that we require, the higher up on the wait list you will be. So if you have an 87.99% average, you'll be at the top of the list. If you apply after June 2nd, you'll get placed at the bottom of the wait list. But in early June, you will be informed of what number on the wait list you actually are. So you have a better sense of maybe how likely it is that you'll get off that wait list. And essentially how it would work is if you do get off the wait list, you would be emailed by the housing team and you'd have the opportunity then to pay the deposit. Now, if you don't have a guaranteed spot in residence, or maybe you're just not interested in living in residence, then I'll tell you a little bit more about living off campus. Living in residence is also mostly a first year experience. So beyond your first year, most students are either commuting or living off campus. A lot of the neighborhoods that surround the university are off campus housing. So you could find something within a 5 to 20-minute walk away from the university. We do also have one off-campus residence building managed by our housing team, and that is in downtown Hamilton. It's called 10 Bay, that students can live at in first year as well as beyond first year, and some graduate students. Now, it's made easy to live off campus as well by the fact that as a full-time undergraduate student, most students are getting a bus pass included in your tuition. So what that means is you can ride the Hamilton City buses completely for free for all 12 months of all of your years at McMaster. So it makes it very easy to get off campus and back onto campus. And then we do also have a Go bus terminal right on campus that services most of the cities in the Greater Toronto, Greater Hamilton area. There's one that goes directly to Toronto's Pearson Airport as well. If you are looking at living off campus, we do have an off-campus housing website where you can learn a little bit more about some of the rental properties that might be up for grabs. And there's also opportunities to find roommates on that website as well. Now, switching gears to talk a little bit about financial matters. So there are different types of awards that we have at McMaster. Most of these have already been awarded to students. So our by application awards, you had to have applied to those kind of in like mid-February, and those decisions have been sent out at this point, but you'll receive the payment in mid-September once you've actually started classes. And then we do have some automatic entrance awards that are based on your grades that some students may have been informed of in their offer letter, but they are confirmed based on your final admission average that we receive at the end of June. And similar to the by application awards, you'll receive that payment in September after you've begun classes, but before tuition is due. If you are looking at maybe some other options in terms of funding, one great place to start is OSAP. So that is government provided financial aid based on need. So the Ontario Student Assistance Program, the recommended deadline to apply is June 30th if you want your funding to be by the start of September. So keep that in mind, and you can see the website on the screen there. At McMaster, we also have bursaries as well as a work program. These applications typically open in early August. Bursaries are grants that are based on financial need. And then our work program is also for students who demonstrate financial need. So essentially what that means is typically you have to be eligible for OSAP. So if you're looking at getting a bursary or a work program, then you should be applying for OSAP. If you are eligible for the work program, then there's a lot of jobs that you can get on campus, whether that's part-time or full-time. Even if you're not eligible for the work program, you can also still get a job on campus, which is super convenient. In terms of when things are actually due, so all of your tuition fees and all that will populate on Mosaic under the finances section in July. So after the acceptance deadline, your Mosaic application portal will kind of transfer over to that of an incoming student rather than having been one of an applicant. And so you'll see some things change, including the finances section. And then in July, after you've enrolled in your classes, is where you'll be able to get an RESP enrollment verification letter if that's something that you require. Your parents might be asking you about that. You'll be able to download that for yourself on your Mosaic. And then your tuition will actually be due on the 25th of the first month of each term. So that means that your fall semester tuition fees are due September 25th, and then January 25th would be for winter. If you're taking summer classes, spring classes, they'd be due in May. So they're not actually due until you've actually begun classes. Residence fees are typically due about a week or so before those. In mid-July, another thing you'll be looking to do on Mosaic is uploading a headshot of yourself to actually be used for your MacCard, which is your student card. That's where your meal plan will be loaded. That'll be your gym pass access. In July, you'll also verify other personal information on Mosaic once your Mosaic flips over to that of an incoming student. And then after you've fully enrolled in your classes, you will gain access to your McMaster email. So the email that you've used to apply, you'll get an email there telling you how to gain access to your McMaster email. And then we already talked a little bit about the fact that the weekend of August 23rd, 24th, you move into residence, and that's also when you pick up your student card. And then classes begin on Tuesday, September 2nd. So that's the day after Labor Day. A big question that a lot of folks have is about course enrollment. So when do I enroll in my classes? How does that work? All of that. Totally great questions to be asking, but nothing that you need to action quite yet. That'll mostly happen in June. So on June 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to be specific, is when you'll actually know of when your time slot is to enroll in your classes. So on Mosaic, on the right-hand side of your student center is where you'll see your enrollment time slot. You'll also then have access on your Mosaic to what's called My Timetable, which is the big course timetable that tells you what classes we offer every semester, what time they're offered at, so you can start kind of building your ideal schedule. And then when you actually have your enrollment time slot is when you can go in and press submit and actually enroll in your classes. So first year enrollment appointments will begin at the end of June. The earliest time slot will be on June 25th. And that's when you can start enrolling in all those classes. Throughout June and all the way through to August and beyond, once you've started your classes, you can meet with your academic advisors. If you go to the link at the top right-hand side of the slide here, it'll take you to a little bit more information about how to access your academic advisors. But after you've accepted your offer in June, you'll start being able to meet with them. They're sort of like your guidance counselors, but in university. And so they'll be your go-to supports for how to actually enroll in your classes, as well as if you have questions about what classes you need to take, all that sort of stuff, they'll be able to help you out. For our Faculty of Engineering students specifically, your required courses will be automatically scheduled for you, but you'll still need to log in for your enrollment appointment to actually complete your enrollment, as well as choose any electives that you may have. So again, nothing to action quite yet, but you'll start being able to build your ideal schedule as of June 12th, and you'll also know when your time slot is on that same date. I think this is maybe one final piece for me before we start talking about your actual transition into McMaster. But if you're not part of it already, we have a really fantastic community on Discord where you can connect with future classmates as well as current McMaster students and stay up to date on all things McMaster. It's currently run by our recruitment team, but soon it will be taken over by some of our student services who'll be able to help you with that transition into McMaster. So there's a QR code on the screen if you want to scan that. Alternatively, if you go onto our website, you can also find a link to our Discord so that you can join that community. With that being said, I am going to pass it back over to Adam, and Adam is going to tell you all about your transition into McMaster and kind of getting you ready for actually making the move into becoming a McMaster student. So over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Julia, and good evening, everybody, or afternoon, or whatever time it is where you're tuning in from. Like Julia mentioned, I'm here to talk a bit about what your next steps look like in terms of transition. So we've gone through a lot of the administrative pieces, but I'm here to talk to you about all the other preparatory pieces that might be helpful for you as a new student. I am the manager of the educational initiative. Oh, sorry. I'm a manager of educational initiatives and assessment for the first year experience team. But I dabble a lot in just general transition and orientation for students who are new to McMaster. So not only first years, but predominantly first years. Oh, there we go. Sorry. I work in the Student Success Center along with probably 50 or so other professionals over a number of different offices. So we'll talk about what we do in just a second. But in general, the Student Success Center, or the SSC, really acts as a central point for all students so that you can access resources that will help you be successful at McMaster. And of course, success at McMaster definitely means we want you to be academically successful, whatever that means to you. Maybe that's getting good grades. Maybe that's getting into your post-grad programs. Maybe that's being successful finding a co-op position. But we also know that very commonly for students, being successful also means having a very well-rounded student experience. So that means getting involved in other activities. That means having well-being and balance at the forefront. And really just identifying what stressors you might have and figuring out how we can support you with those. So we support students through your transition to university. We also support you for years after graduation. So even once you're finished at McMaster, if you want to come back, maybe you're looking for a career change, we can support you with that. And a lot of our staff in the Student Success Center are professional educators in different fields, depending on the scope. Some are psychotherapists, some are social workers, but really a wide variety of folks with different expertise. We're here to help you. So we have a number of different services within the Student Success Center, and I've put them up on the screen here just so you can get a sense of what it is we offer. Of course, writing and academic skills, again, is at the forefront of the student experience. You want to be academically successful. Things like careers and employment, also very important, so that you can find summer employment, co-op positions, and employment after you graduate. We also support a number of international initiatives. So we have a whole team dedicated to international students and making sure that the needs of international students are met on campus, but also for students who might be domestic, but you might be thinking about exchange opportunities. Maybe you want to go to France for a semester at some point in your second, third, fourth year. We can help you navigate what that might look like, what your course selection is, how can you deal with the financial pieces of that, but everything that comes with going abroad. We have a team called Max Money Center. So kind of contrary to all the financial systems within the registrar's office, this is more about financial literacy. So as a new adult, you might be new to budgeting and figuring out how to manage your finances. And that's okay. That's a skill you have to learn. And that's something that we can support you with. We have a team dedicated to spiritual care. So we work very closely with a lot of the different religious or cultural groups on campus. and we have, want to say 14 different spiritual leaders from a number of different religious or other secular denominations. So you can access support from them on a one-on-one or on a group basis. And then finally, my team in the bottom corner here, transition, access, retention, and success, which is a bit of a mouthful, but really just helping you get to McMaster and helping you succeed while you're at McMaster. All right. So I'm going to say the word transition a lot during this presentation. If you need to make a fun game out of it, you can count how many times. But really, the goal of my team in first year transition is to help uh, provide you with skills and resources and information that you all need when you need it most. So we use a model called the student life cycle, which really identifies what students are commonly going to experience at different points in the year. And then we try to identify how we can address those needs before it becomes a problem or a stressful point for you. A good example of this is when midterms are rolling around. So it's October, you might be writing your first university tests, and that's probably a very stressful experience. If you're not stressed about it, I might be a little more concerned. So we'll do it two ways. We'll want to provide you with a number of pieces of information, resources, workshops, tips, whatever that looks like, before your midterms happen. So that way you can be prepared before you go into your midterms and hopefully do well. But we also know that going through your midterms, you might not do as well as you'd like. And how do you navigate bouncing back after your midterms are done as well? So for us, again, it's not just about the academic success, but what does the rest of the experience look like? Because again, you're going to experience a lot of things over the course of first year, and we want to make sure that we're here to support you through that. All right. Oh, sorry. The screen has a little bit of lag. So, looking at some of the programs that we're going to talk about today, of course, being focused on student transition, we have a lot of work that we do in the summer because that's when these things are most important to you before you get here in September or August in this case. So we're going to talk through four programs today. The first one is Mac 101, which is a virtual conference, pretty academically focused, but also just to learn about student life. MacStart is a program that sandwiches Mac 101. So it happens a little bit before Mac 101 and after Mac 101 as well. And it's really geared towards students with disabilities. So either a self-identified disability, a registered disability, or maybe you just have an IEP in high school and your learning needs are different. And that's what MacStart's here to help you acclimate to the university community through. We have this new program called Mac for You, which I'll talk about briefly now, but we're not going to dive into more later. But this is a new 4-day in-person program that we're offering for up to 30 students from different equity deserving or other historically underrepresented backgrounds. So this is in partnership with the Access program. So folks who might have applied to the Access Award, you're going to hear more about this, but also this is a really exciting opportunity for you. Because it's a small program, you'll get to know other students who participate very closely. We're hoping to build a bit of a cohort. And this is all free of charge is really the goal so that you can come and stay on campus for up to those 4 days, or you can drop in and out if you have other commitments. But you can learn more about what it's like to live on campus as a student at McMaster. So shadowing upper year students for mock lectures, taking some adventures out into Westdale or the neighboring community to learn more about what's nearby. And of course, talking about all those other pieces like finances and wellness and things to help you succeed at McMaster. So if you're interested in that, more information will be shared on our website, which will be at the end of the presentation, but over the course of the next few weeks in the summer, because like I said, it's a new program, so we're still working on it. And then finally, Welcome Week, we'll talk about more at the end. But this is the main transition program for incoming students. So this happens the last week of August each year, from the 25th to the 29th. And there are no classes running this week. So we highly encourage you to be present for Welcome Week as much as you possibly can. But of course, if you have a family vacation or something and you need to be away, that's okay too. You're not missing anything crucial. All right, so moving into Mac 101 then. Mac 101 is a program that runs from July 21st to 24th this year. So that's a Monday through a Thursday. All of the programs that we're going to talk about today are free of charge. So we encourage you to participate if you think it's applicable to you. The goal of Mac 101 is really for students and your parents or your guardians, your supporters, to learn about McMaster programs, strategies, tools, and resources that are all here to support you as you transition to university. So while these next step webinars have probably been very helpful for you as you've been deciding whether to come to McMaster, how to apply, and understanding all the pieces you need to know all the way leading up to acceptance, uh, think of Mac 101 almost as a parallel version of that for after you've accepted. So what happens now that you've accepted your offer and you're getting ready to show up in August, September? What are the things you need to know to be successful at university? So we do this by pairing you with a lot of your peers. You'll meet upper year students. You'll have the opportunity to hear from a professor, from different staff across the university. But we really want to integrate you into the McMaster community before the school year starts so that you can build some familiarity before you get here. The program is predominantly virtual, so you can think of it like a virtual conference if you've been to any sort of leadership conference or something similar in high school. There's sometimes some in-person offerings as well, which we'll talk about. And registration will open in June, so probably in the next couple of weeks. But again, like all of these opportunities, you'll hear lots about it through email, whether that's either your applicant email or your McMaster email. You'll make the transition over in the next few weeks. So what happens in Mac 101? It's probably what people are wondering. On the screen is just a few examples of some of the sessions we've run in the past for Mac 101. I won't read through them all in the interest of not boring you, but hopefully you can see that there's a variety of academic focus sessions. So things like how to learn at a university pace, things like how to write lab reports and essays, also things like study habits, and how do you make sure you're prepared for your tests and your exams. We'll talk a lot about student life in general. So, what does your first year at McMaster look like? How do you manage balancing everything? How can you learn about different resources and supports at McMaster? And then we'll talk about some more specific pieces as well. So, again, you can see there's sessions for international students, sessions for students with disabilities, but a little bit of everything so that you get an overview of what McMaster has to offer and that you can start getting connected with the right people and the right resources before you arrive. So, also a part of Mac 101 is we have a few parent sessions that we offer on Saturday, July 26th. So, these are for parents, guardians, supporters, but any of those trusted adults in your student's life who might or feel like you might benefit from learning a bit more about what some of these same supports are at McMaster. So, we'll run 3 sessions on that Saturday morning. The first one is on supporting your students. So, we get together a number of directors and leadership across student affairs to talk about what their different services offer. And specifically in the context for you as a parent, how does this impact your ability in working with your student, especially knowing that they may be living away from home? This might be a new experience for all of you, but almost, again, supporting you in supporting them. Our second session is on financing your education. So some of this would have been covered in similar webinars through the Next Step series. But again, if you've missed it or you'd like a refresher on what some of the financial systems at McMaster look like, we offer that. And then the third one, excuse me, um, actually, I apologize. The third bullet I typoed. The third bullet is actually on the residence experience. So if you have a student who's living away from home and will be on campus for the year, and again, if this is new for you, we'll bring in our folks from Residence Life to talk more about what living on campus means, what supports are available for those students living on campus, and what you need to know as a parent, again, who's probably trying to be supportive of your student, but you may not physically be there, and what does that look like? As mentioned, we have some socials during Mac 101, Marauder morning meetups. Think of it like homeroom, but hopefully far less boring than what your high school homeroom was. And sometimes we offer campus tours as well. But that's a gist about what Mac 101 is. So it's a little bit of everything. Next, we're going to move into MacStart. So MacStart is, skipping ahead too far, so sorry. All right, so MacStart is our program for incoming students with disabilities or high school IEPs. And we use that language very intentionally because some students may not have a registered disability in high school, but you might have some sort of IEP or other specialized plan, and that's okay. What we really want to do is help you identify if you're somebody who has different learning needs than your peers, that you have the supports resources needed to help you succeed at McMaster, knowing that general resources might not be applicable to you. So the way that MacStart works is it's a combination of online sessions, so kind of similar to Mac 101 in the virtual content or conference sense. But we also have an entire avenue to learn, which is McMaster's Learning module or course hub. Course online for you to access. So it's focused on resources and something you can access the entire year. We'll take you through some of it as the year goes on or as the MacStart program goes on, but you can go back and refer to it as much as you want. So MacStart's really broken down into three sections. The first part of MacStart is this July 14th to 18th section. And this is really focused on as you or getting you as a student with disabilities connected to other students with disabilities and learning what it's like to be at McMaster if you experience some sort of disability. So a lot of it will be social and kind of resource based, but really the goal is to help you feel comfortable before you get here. Part two is Mac 101, full stop. So our goal is that we encourage you to go to some of the sessions during Mac 101, especially the more academic focused sessions, because those are done directly with our partners that we would normally offer these with. And then the third part is kind of throughout August. So we'll offer some more specific targeted sessions that focus on skill building, assistive technology, or other really targeted disability related needs for students. So we might talk about things like how to use screen readers in a lecture hall, how to work with your accommodations and navigate talking to your professors. But all of these things that might be applicable to some students with disabilities, but not most students with disabilities, so that it feels much more applicable to what you might be experiencing. So those are offered on kind of an ad hoc base. So it's just the odd webinar here and there, and not a full commitment, or not a full week-long commitment, rather. So some of the topics that we offer in MacStart, again, there's some pieces on academic skills, practice lectures, which we do specifically at a different pace so that you get the opportunity to ask professors questions. We often do a lot of Q&As with professionals or upper year students so that you can learn about their experience being on campus, working with the disability community, or for upper year students, their own experience with disabilities themselves, if they're comfortable sharing. We'll talk about time management strategies for learners with executive dysfunction specifically, and then we usually have a weekly group for students with autism or other otherwise identify as neurodiverse. So again, those are just a few examples. We do a lot more. And then for the online course on Avenue to Learn, this is all asynchronous. You can do it at your own pace, but this has a lot of resources like McMaster Services, who your points of contact are, tip sheets from students and upper years. We also offer some practice course structure. So this is an actual homework you have to do, but it'll teach you that really how you need to submit your assignments online, what kind of things you need to look out for, so that you can meet all of your course requirements. And as I mentioned, this is available all year long, so you can go back to it as needed. And we would highly encourage you to use it as a resource specifically that you do go check when things are most applicable to you. So you don't feel like you need to remember everything right in July and August. All right. So moving into Welcome Week. This is our most official welcome and orientation for new students at McMaster. Welcome Week, at other institutions, you might have heard it called Orientation Week. Usually in the United States, it's also called Frosh Week sometimes, but we use the language Welcome Week. This is our introduction for students to learn about McMaster's community of communities. So this is both inside and outside the classroom. We want you to feel prepared for your classes that start the week afterwards, but also we want you to have a good time. We want you to make friends, feel comfortable physically and structurally with campus, and generally just know where to go. So we give you the entire week before classes start, so you can just help yourself feel comfortable and prepared before you have to dive into being a student in the classroom itself. So this is a week of fun events. It runs from August 25th to 29th this year. That's a Monday through Friday, that are all focused around transition to McMaster, getting connected with your faculty and other student groups on campus, etc. And lots of information will come soon. We have a dedicated website to it. Again, you'll hear about this by email once we launch it for this year. So, with Welcome Week, and really with all of these programs, we try to make sure that we're tying back the work that we're doing to something educational. I promise that means it's not boring, because we try specifically really hard to make sure that these are fun programs. So, while Welcome Week is really fun, we also want to make sure that we're helping students feel prepared academically, that you're learning about health and well-being, and that you feel like you know how equity and inclusion is a part of the campus community. So these are integrated through all of your events in some way, shape, or form. But really, again, just helping you identify what these key themes are throughout the week so that you feel prepared over the course of your year, and that everybody feels welcomed and comfortable as a part of the McMaster community. Welcome Week is also a very, very big collaboration. So it is officially in partnership between Student Affairs, so that's groups like the Student Success Center and Residence Life, as well as the McMaster Student Union. So they're your student governing body that's here to represent the needs of students. Um, excuse me. And this planning happens all year round. So we do this in partnership with faculties, with programs, with your student societies. So kind of like student council, but for your specific faculty, and other important groups on campus, like the Black Student Success Center, Indigenous Student Services, and more. Again, really, we're bringing all these people together to make sure that we can put together the best experience possible for you and that your needs, whatever they look like, as individual as they are hopefully represented very well across the course of everything that happens during Welcome Week. And really, we plan Welcome Week year round. So even though it's summer and we're deep in the planning now, even once Welcome Week is finished in August, we start planning again as early as October. So there's a lot of work that goes into this so that we can make it arguably the best event on campus each year. The most important part of Welcome Week, though, and I'd be very remiss if I didn't talk about them, are your Welcome Week representatives, or we call them reps, affectionately at McMaster. So on the left side of the screen there, you can see these upper year student leaders wearing their very colorful jumpsuits rolled up like pants. If you visited McMaster for any of our open house days, whether that's fall preview or May at Mac, I'm hope you remember seeing a number of these student leaders walking around campus. Every single color of pant has a different faculty or group it represents. But really, the connecting thread is that all of these student leaders are volunteers, and they're here to work during Welcome Week to make you feel welcomed and included at McMaster. So they bring quite literally all of the energy during Welcome Week. We have over 1,200, I think, volunteers each year who participate in this strictly because they either want to make sure that Welcome Week is the best experience possible for you because they had a great Welcome Week and they want to give back to the program, or maybe they didn't have the best Welcome Week ever and they want to make it better for you instead, knowing the things that they've learned now as an upper year student. So you'll see them a lot during Welcome Week. They are the friendliest people on campus, so please feel free to ask them anything you need. They're happy to walk you to your classes, take you on tours, but they'll very much go above and beyond to make you feel welcomed at McMaster. Oh, sorry, skipped one too far. So Welcome Week events. The events in Welcome Week change every single year, but last year we had over 150 events for you to participate in over the course of 5 days. We have a few events that run each year consistently that are called our signature events. So these are the biggest events of the week that we encourage every single student to go to. So things like the McMaster Welcome, where you'll get to hear from some of the most important people at McMaster. Faculty Day, where you'll get to spend the entire day with your faculty and meeting people in your program and asking all of those questions that you want to know. Things like our Student Services Fair, the MSU concert that happens every year. And in case anybody is going to ask questions in the Q&A about who is playing at the concert, nobody knows yet. It's a secret until like the week before Welcome Week. So I'll hear when you hear about it, and hopefully it's somebody good. Um, we have a number of events around academics and resource-focused pieces. So if being loud and social and meeting new friends is not your thing, maybe that's not what you feel like you want to spend your week before classes doing. We have a lot of things that are here specifically to help you prepare for classes instead. So if you really just want to get to the grind before your classes begin, there's some things there for you. And then at the bottom here under popular activities, we have just some common programs that usually happen from year to year. Things like morning yoga. A couple of years ago, there was goat yoga, and I think there was puppy yoga last year. Um, we'll do hikes to waterfalls because McMaster is the waterfall capital of the world. That's my fun fact of the day. Things like dance competitions, gaming nights, lots of arts and crafts, usually guest speakers of some sort, giant inflatables, but the list goes on and on and on. There's tons of things for you to participate in, and the goal really is that you have lots of options. So you can pick and choose what you feel like most doing at the end of the day. And then finally on this page are a couple of testimonials that I won't read, but hopefully illustrate to you just how amazing Welcome Week really can be. So if you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're feeling a little uncertain, our advice is always to encourage you to push past your comfort zone a little bit and give it a try. But also, again, a big philosophy of this is challenge by choice. So you can pick whatever it is that you'd like. And if you decide at the end of the day that Welcome Week isn't for you, then that's okay as well. That doesn't mean that the upper year students and the staff who are here at McMaster are going to suddenly not support you anymore because you're not participating in Welcome Week. We're here to help you regardless what that looks like. The other piece that I'll mention, because I know it comes up in the Q&A a lot, and I imagine it has been while I've been talking, is residents move-in. So in the middle there, residents move-in weekend happens right before Welcome Week. So while Welcome Week this year runs from Monday, August 25th to Friday, August 29th this year, resident students will move in typically the weekend before. So that's Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th. Your exact day and time will depend on what building you end up living in, and it changes from year to year. So, the residence team will let you know as you get closer to that move-in weekend. So usually in July or August. If you can't move in on that weekend or at your designated date and time, that's okay. You'll just get in touch with the residence admissions team as you get closer to, and then you can arrange to move in. Usually later is better than earlier, but sometimes they can accommodate an early move in as well. But they can talk to you about all the details about coordinating moving in outside of your arranged time, just so that they know when to expect you. And that really is the end of Welcome Week, and I think brings me to the end of my portion of the presentation. So a few recommendations I always have for students is on how to just be up to date with communications. The first is check your email regularly. I know everybody nowadays gets too many emails and things get sent to your promotions folder and your spam folder, and I get it, trust me. But if you need to pick one thing to pay attention to, it's definitely your email. Communications from McMaster will be sent to your application email for the next 2 to 3 weeks or so until the middle of June. And then at around that time, and we'll give you notice, they'll just start being sent exclusively to your McMaster email. So it's important to stay on top of that because it's probably the most important source of communication over your whole time at McMaster. For general email inquiries about anything I was chatting about, you can email the Student Success Center at studentsuccess@mcmaster.ca and they'll flip it over to me, and I'm more than happy to get back to you there. And if you're an Instagram user, you can follow us at any of those following, any or all of those following accounts at McMaster U, Mac SSC, Live at Mac for residents, and Mac Welcome Week for Welcome Week specifically. And on the left side, there is a QR code that takes you to our website that lists all of our summer transition programs. So some of those are ones that we run through the Student Success Center, and others might be ones that are offered across campus, maybe through your faculty or other programs as well. So if you're interested in the idea of getting more information, but maybe the ones I talked about don't really seem up your alley, check out that website anyways, because there might be something else there that fits what you need better. I think that's it for me. So Julia, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Adam. One question that I am seeing pop up a lot in the chat that I'll get you to answer before you dive back into the chat
Yeah.
is specifically about Mac 101. A lot of folks were asking if for the different events, if they're going to be recorded and then available afterwards for some of those like synchronous pieces.
Yeah, definitely. So for Mac 101, we record all of the webinar sessions. So anything that's kind of more informational or educational, we'll record so you can go back and check it afterwards if you'd like. Anything that's more social, so if it's like a speed friending event or getting Q&A from upper year students, some of those we won't record just for the sake of privacy. And because it feels weird to say we're going to tell you to make friends, but also we're recording the whole thing so people can creep on it later. So if you are interested in Mac 101, but the specific session timings maybe don't work out for you, that's fine. I don't think we ever have students who can attend every single one because the timings are just spread throughout the day and you might have a summer job or other commitments, but you can always go back and check them later.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Adam.
Oh,
Um,
I'll also say that applies to MacStart as well. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, and it also applies to tonight's event. A lot of folks were asking if tonight's event was being recorded. It is, and the recording will be available on the same website that you would have registered for the event by Thursday. So we're going to have it up pretty quickly, as well as an FAQ. So probably by the end of the day tomorrow, it will be posted. So you'll be able to access that, which is fantastic. We are nearing the end of our session here, but I do want to take a few moments to answer questions that are just kind of coming up a whole bunch in the chat so that we can get those answered for you. In the meantime, you can continue sending your questions in through the Q&A, and we will try to get to as many as possible. If for whatever reason we aren't able to get to your question tonight, you can send us any admissions or like residence, recruitment specific questions to the email at the bottom of the screen there, liaison@mcmaster.ca. That's serviced by the recruitment team. So a lot of the folks on this call would be the ones answering you there. But some of the questions that are coming up a lot, so we are getting a lot of questions about awards, specifically some of the ones on award spring. So the ones that you would have applied for, decisions would have been released throughout kind of March to May. Unfortunately, only successful applicants for those awards would have been notified. There are a few minor exceptions, such as the Access Award, which is still to be released, and all applicants of that one will be notified within the next week or so. And then the awards that are based on your grades are confirmed based on your final grades. So based on those grades that we get from your school at the end of June, those will be confirmed, and then you'll be notified of that towards the end of the summer. I know a lot of folks have questions about course enrollment. I think that's one of the biggest questions that I'm seeing come up time and time again in the chat. So to just kind of touch back on how that process works. So on June 12th, your Mosaic, which is at this point, if you're an Ontario high school student, you were using that as your applicant portal. In early June, it'll get flipped over to become a portal for an incoming McMaster student. And so that will include the fact that you'll, on June 12th, have access to seeing when you can enroll in your classes, as well as you'll have access to our tool called My Timetable, where you can actually start building your schedule. So you'll be able to see what classes are offered in which semester, what times they're offered at, so you can start kind of playing around and see what you can make fit. On June 12th, your Mosaic will also tell you when your time slot is to actually enroll in your classes. So it's called your enrollment appointment. The earliest enrollment appointment as a first year student is going to be on June 25th. So you'll have about 2 weeks between actually starting to play around with your schedule and then being able to submit it. At that point, you hopefully will have built your schedule. So all you'll need to do is press submit, enroll, and you'll be enrolled in those classes. Throughout June and beyond June, you can contact your academic advisors who can help support you with understanding what classes you need to take, especially if you're doing a gateway program or an exploratory first year program where there are different requirements you need to take. If you're curious about what classes you are required to take for any given program, if you utilize the tool, the academic calendar, so if you just Google McMaster academic calendar, it'll be the first link that comes up. On there, you're able to see all of the degrees that we offer, and within each of those degrees, it'll break down what classes you actually need to take every single year. So say you're coming in through our Humanities 1 program, on the academic calendar, you can find Humanities 1 listed there, and you can see the required courses that you have to take, as well as the optional classes that you have available to you, electives, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how that process works. It's a bit of a similar process for residents in the sense that you will have a specific time slot assigned to you that you'll be notified of in mid-June. And then you'll be able to actually go and select your room. So that's kind of how that process works for folks who were asking about that. And then for folks who are asking about how do you apply for your meal plan, you apply for your meal plan as part of the residence application process. it's just included in there. And remember that that's due by June 2nd. June 2nd is also the deadline to accept your offer on the OUAC if you have not yet done so. Please make sure that you do that by the end of the day on Monday. And it's 4 p.m. on Monday, the deadline to apply to residence to secure your spot. So keeping in that deadline, those are the only kind of upcoming deadlines that are immediate pressing action items for you if you haven't done them already. For the next 10 minutes or so, we are going to continue answering as many questions as we can in the Q&A. Again, if we don't get to your question, please do email us at liaison@mcmaster.ca, or if it was something specifically that Adam talked about, you can email studentsuccess@mcmaster.ca, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. But we really appreciate you being here tonight, and we really hope that you enjoyed this presentation, that it helped maybe ease any concerns or any worries that you had about what to do now that you have accepted your offer or are about to accept your offer. So hopefully this presentation today was able to help answer any of the questions that you had. Like I said, we're going to keep answering the questions in the chat for the next 9 minutes or so. So we will all have our cameras off, but we'll still be in the chat answering those, and we'll put it in the chat when we will be closing the call for the evening. So once again, thank you so very much for being here tonight and for attending this session and for being so engaged and asking all the questions that you had. And we are so excited for you to start this new journey and this new chapter in your life. And we're so excited to have been part of it with you throughout it. And we are still here for you, answering any questions that you have. And I wish you the most lovely evening and week. And we are so excited to see you on campus this fall. Thank you so much, everybody.